Great to be here today. I've never actually been in this building before. It was an interesting commute for me, and I know I can walk from King's Cross to here in just under 40 minutes. So, personal record. Anyway, so my name's Dylan, and I'm an adult with autism. I was diagnosed at the age of 11 in 2009. When I was diagnosed, I'd actually just moved into my 5th family. So I was first born, as you know, then put into care, then adopted. At the age of 9, I got placed back into foster care before moving with my adopted aunt and uncle at age 11. Now, when I first found out about autism was not when I just started high school, and I'd actually been suspended for a meltdown involving an incident with another young person. And I didn't understand what it was. Like, no one had ever told me about it before, but I was actually quite relieved to find out at the time, because for me, it gave an answer to a question I'd been asking for so long, and that was, why was I so angry? Because I always thought it was my fault that I couldn't stay in a family. I always thought it was my fault that I couldn't stay in a school. I had to move around. I couldn't make friends because I'd just be moved somewhere else again. And I always didn't understand what all this anger was, what if there was any other factor. So when someone explained what autism was to me, and they started talking about like hypersensitivity, anxiety, and other elements about it, it just clicked for me. And with that understanding, it gave me a drive to then try and work on that, to be able to help, not just help other people, but then help myself move forward and progress into adult life. Now, as some of you may know, if you meet one person with autism, I'll tell you right now, you only meet one person with autism. If you had a group of 10 autistic people next to 10 what we would call neurotypical people, you would find a great amount of differences amongst the autistic people. Now, I'm going to explain to you now just how my autism affects me. So, for example, I had great difficulty for a long time in reading facial expressions. I couldn't understand what people did when they pulled certain faces. I didn't know what emotions they were conveying. I always really struggled with sarcasm. And a particular problem I had was changes of routine. I could also talk about not auto-feeling changes. So like when it comes to heat, I can wear a jacket like this when it's 40 degrees Celsius and not be affected by it. I was lucky enough to have my aunt and uncle who were willing to go every step of the way to help understand me in that way. So for example, when it came to sayings, so I know some of you guys might be familiar with the phrase like pull your socks up. Now for someone like me, that's me thinking you're telling me to pull my socks up. Or heaven forbid you tell me break a leg. Well, I got to learn about those sayings. I actually looked into the origins of them. And once I could look into the origin of them, we understand them. So for example, break a leg originates from theatre in Elizabethan times, because people used to applaud by stamping their chair legs. So if you broke your chair legs, you know that was a good performance, and that's where the saying comes from. Although that logic falls out of the window when you hear the phrase, "Oh, they get along like a house on fire." And just raise your hands if any of you can understand how on earth that is a good thing. Because to this day, I haven't a clue. When it came to facial expressions, my family started using TV to help. There was one programme I particularly liked, which was Midsummer Murders. And, you know, it's one of those kind of shows where you need to know who did it at the end. On many occasions, my aunt and uncle would pause the TV and they wouldn't let me carry on watching it until I could correctly identify the facial expression. And of course, the motivation for me to do that was so I could then get to the end and find out if I was right about who'd done it. It ended up being very effective, although very annoying. When it came to routine, unlike what I'd had before, like when you have your school time routine, I don't know if any of your young people have had this, but it's like half term is something that you look forward to on your way up to it, but once it's there, for me, I don't like it at all, because it's a week without your regular routine. You have no idea what to do. So my family would then actually sit down with me and decide, here's what we're doing on each day. And I always found, I've now been able to progress to that point where I do have a routine. I don't always follow it, but I always have it for when I'm really stressed. I always have something I can fall back on. If I want to weave off it a bit, I'm quite comfortable doing so, because I know at the end of the day, when times get too much for me, I have it to fall back on. I don't have that uncertainty. And through these different techniques, another great one is the 1 to 5. So that was a way to deal with meltdowns. So when I'd have physical outbursts, imagine a 1 being just kind of, I'd like to think we're all at 1s now, a little bit calm, maybe a couple of 2s in the room at the moment. And then 2, 3, you build your stress up until 5. 5 is, that's meltdown. That's where chairs can get thrown around, punches, kicks, screaming, all that kind of thing. And it was through learning these techniques I was able to bring my meltdowns down in school to the point where I stopped having them by the end of year 8. Then the other thing for me though is not just trying to get through school. Like, I still had my interests that motivated me, but it was always looking about actually trying to do more. So when it came to GCSEs, I knew they were important, but I couldn't study for them. I had to have help studying for them. One of the other problems I had was during exams, and I don't know if any of you young people have had this, is when you get asked a question in an exam, there is a correct answer, but it's not what you think is the correct answer won't always be the correct answer that the school has in mind. There have been many occasions where I'm writing down an answer that is correct, logically, but for something like a chemistry exam, it's absolutely not relevant. When I'm talking about history, even though it backs up the point, you don't get marks for it. So that was another thing you had to learn. But when I was 15, I decided I wanted to start giving back, because I was so lucky to have had that family, and the local Leicestershire Autism Outreach Service helped me. I just knew I wanted to do something in return. So I'd asked my mentor at the time, a man called Kevin Baskerville, if there was anything I could do to help out. And he mentioned to me about a workshop he was running, in which he had 2 other speakers, but he wanted someone new to join. And he asked me if I'd be down for it. And I said yes. So I'm there at 15. I've never done a talk before in my life. I have these cue cards I'd all prepared. And I see these other 2 people with such beautiful PowerPoint presentations that I kind of panicked. And when it was my turn to speak, I just chucked my cards to the floor and started talking like how I wanted to, not with any preparedness. Yeah. And I actually found for me that has always been the easiest way for me to be able to talk, is without having to think it through. Because the way I am, if I start trying to think it through, I end up overthinking it. And then overthinking on top of that. And you don't get anywhere, and you just keep overthinking things. One of the other reasons I've been so lucky is that I've had this, with me, I've always had this belief that you have to do something to learn about yourself, even if it's going to bring a negative outcome. And that was something I know particularly came true when it came to meeting my birth family. Because I'd always known I was adopted, because at the time I was adopted I was 5 years old, so I always knew, and I remembered. But I didn't know a lot about my old family. And I knew I wanted to know about them. And the whole way through, you have people constantly asking you, well, what if they don't want to know you? What if they don't care? And it was quite unfair, I thought, at the time, for people to try and tread me down so much, for us just wanted to find out where I come from. And I just would say, actually, I'd rather they say yes than me not bother and always wonder what might have been. And through doing so, I went to look back into my past, and I actually found out that I should have been diagnosed with autism when I was 5. When I was originally adopted, I actually had been diagnosed with SEN, special educational needs, and I was on the pathway to an autism diagnosis. But my adopted parents at the time had made it clear they didn't want an autistic child. So when they had me, they stopped all that. They hid the evidence of my SEN diagnosis and just wouldn't accept it. So it was interesting for me to see that I'd gone into that family and it had fallen apart within a couple of years. Yeah, and when I moved into a family that accepted me and were willing to understand, I was able to thrive as well as I did. And then with that drive, I carried on doing my talks. I went on my first ever holiday on my own, which I went to New Zealand for 3 weeks. Because in my mind, if you can go to New Zealand, you can go anywhere. I gave university a go. I did a couple of years. It wasn't for me, but getting to meet all those friends that I made along the way, both inside and outside of uni, which I still maintain to this day, gave it such a valuable experience that, you know, yes, I didn't complete my course, but I wouldn't have changed the time I had for the world. And now, you know, I'm now the co-chairman for the Autism Partnership Board for Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. I get to work with the NHS, with City and County Council, constantly trying to improve the lives of people with autism. Not just people, but as well as parents, siblings, and trying to, particularly, my focus at the moment is tackle the stigma of autism and employability. Because one of the things I find really alarming was there was a 2021 study done said less than 22% of autistic adults are in any form of paid employment. And I always actually reflect back to one of my earliest job interviews that I had. And I'm probably an exception in this, that I've always put my autism on my CV, because it was the first kind of work I did, was that talk when I was 15. And the person, this was for a supermarket job, and this person actually asked me, how do you solve the problem that is autism? And I remember actually being quite confused, but I just burst out laughing and went, here's how, don't see it as a problem. See what you can do to further understand people with autism and you'll go a lot further. I actually got the job, which was quite handy. And even though I've not been there for years, knowing I had the confidence to be able to do that because I'd taken the time to learn about myself and also try and see what I could do to help other people in return, it's given me that kind of confidence and the drive, mainly, to keep doing the things I've been doing today. Now, I got to meet Hashim a couple of years ago through the Autism Partnership Board, and while I've been working as chairman, we started talking about trying to do events together. It was just over a year ago when I attended the first event together we did at the St Matthew's Community Centre. And I have to say, every time I've been to an event, I've always thoroughly enjoyed it. So getting to meet you, it's been an honour to be in the same partnership board as you, and it's been an honour to be able to call you my friend. So, if people do have questions for me, I would love to take them at some point. However, of course, I am not the main spectacle for today. We know why we're here. Yep. So, well, I've already started with the introduction, surely enough. So, all of you will know who Hashim is. He's a dear friend of mine. And so the work he's been doing, I've been able to do with him as well over the past few years, has been absolutely amazing. It has truly been a privilege to be able to do so much with you over these past few years. And I just want to be able to hope that you can change everyone's lives how you've done with mine and the people you've already done for so far over the last 20 years. So I'm going to pass you over now to Hashim, my friend here. I'll thank you everyone for allowing me to talk first.
Thank you, Dylan. I'll remember to pay you later for that compliment. Thank you. I always go over the board when I am given a mic. But today I wanted to script myself and read from what I prepared so that I know that the message that I wanted to convey to this workshop goes well. Okay, here it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand you today not as only speaker, but a fellow parent. I'm here to address fathers, specifically fathers of children with autism. Now, let me start by saying that I'm well aware that there are exceptional fathers among us, those who are true role models, actively engaged in the journey of raising children with special needs. Your dedication is truly commendable. I salute you. However, today my focus is on the majority, a group that I too myself belong. Those of us who often find ourselves preoccupied with our careers, driven by the notion that we are the breadwinners. We unwittingly leave the enormous responsibility of caring for our children with special needs squarely on the shoulders of our wives. May Allah forgive me. In the past, I was saved to chase a career by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I chose to be with my children better late than never. Now I don't want to put us all in the same box. That wouldn't be fair. But it's essential for us to acknowledge the reality that all too often women bear the brunt of caregiving responsibilities. A trip to school, a visit to the hospital, or just a stroll in town. You will mostly find mothers there, tirelessly managing the needs of their children. And it begs the question, where are the fathers? I ask my question until today. Why is that we men seem to be missing from the picture? That's not a blame game. It is a call to action. It is a plea for all of us to reassess our roles and responsibilities in our families. We must recognize that our wives should not be left alone to the shoulders this immense task. It is not about who is the breadwinner. It is about being a parent, being partner, being present, period. No one will save you from that. I'm sorry to say to you, all fathers here present. I get a bit emotional, sorry, but I have to recompose myself. Why do we fathers sometimes walk away? In the unfortunate situation where the union breaks between wife and husband. Why is the wife will live with a special needs child? Why? I don't understand. You have same responsibility as her. When the breakdown of the family happens, who give you that right to walk away from it? Nobody. Nobody. You can fall out with your wife, but not from your child. What they has nothing to do with it. So I'm speaking directly. Those fathers who due to the break of union blame the wife and the child. Why? Is that fair? Who gives you the right to walk away from it? I end my plea. Let's stand by our partners, shoulder to shoulder, and support them in every step this challenging but rewarding journey. Together as fathers, as husbands, as caregivers, we can make difference. Let us not leave it to the women to bear the weight alone. Let us be present. Let us be involved. Let us be the fathers to our children, even if that marriage breaks down. be adults. The child haven't done nothing. So whether you blame your wife or she blames you, the child have the right that you are present for them. I just want to conclude because today I'm taking here because the guest who's supposed to be speaking is down with the flu, and we cannot replace her. Bless her. There will be another day, and she would supposed to be talking about siblings of the autistic children or siblings of a special needs child. I will put on the spot my daughter. She will hate me for that, but Almas Duale, if you are in the audience, if you can come out, please. Here. She will say a few lines from her. They keep journal, all my children. So whatever she chose to pick it up, I don't know. So I'm in the dark. She might blame us, parents, I don't know. Just will give the phone.
I wasn't supposed to be speaking today. I think this was the first time I was told, so like I'm a bit nervous right now. But growing up, I always noticed that my parents focused more on my older brother, Ismail. But I didn't hold it against them because there was a reason, you know. I love my brother because I don't think of him that he has autism. I just know him as that he's my brother. He's my oldest brother out of 6. I remember going to school and people asking me about, you know, my family, like, tell us more about your siblings, your parents. And I always told them that my older brother, we always used to spend after school watching Four in a Bed, you know, watching shows after school when I was trying to avoid my homework. I remember playing on my phone with all the rest of my siblings and just seeing Ismail like pace around the house. I remember sharing beds with my siblings, sharing rooms with my siblings, and I remember my brothers sharing rooms. But then they always asked me, why isn't he in school with the rest of us? Why isn't he in the same types of schools? And I always said, because he's special, he's different, he's my older brother. And I never resented my parents for spending more time with Ismail because I knew there was a reason. And I knew there was a reason, and I love that they spend time with Ismail because I know some children don't have the luxury of having attentive parents. I love my mum more because she spent all this time trying to teach Ismail maths, English, just every day. And it was quite repetitive, just trying to help him communicate in ways that we understood. I remember him trying to say my name, and I just remember the way he said it, it was special. Like, whenever I heard my name being said, it made me feel happy because I know only Ismail could say it like that. I think I'm done.
Thank you, Thomas, for that. Especially considering you didn't know you were doing it. That was a pretty good attempt, I'll grant you. I think sometimes, though, when you get to speaking like that, sometimes when you're taking unawares and you are talking from the heart like that, sometimes that's where the best words come from. So again, well done. Now, we're going to introduce you to a video today. I'm looking forward to watching this with you all. And then afterwards, we're going to be moving forward to the keynote speaker herself. So, I'm looking forward to watching this. I know Hashim's been ready to have this on for a while. So, yes, let's move forward.
video ka hadlaya xarunta iyo sida loo qalabeeyey iyo sida ay tahay ka hadlaya markaan videoga uu isha yaro marin.
I mean, just wow. Sometimes when you get to see the transformation a building like that can go through, from something that's empty and abandoned, almost decrepit, to some place that's just so full of love. When you get to see the work that people put in to make a place like that, I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
So everyone who can work and live Lifeline, well done. Seriously, well done all of you. Now, as you all know, some of you may know the story of the Daryeel family already. And I know, like, again, from Ishmael's diagnosis, how they've given their whole lives to help with that remarkable centre you've just seen behind you. And again, I've known Hashim, Samuel well enough to know that this is just purely out of the good of their heart. It's just to make that positive impact and to help the most vulnerable individuals of our society. People don't realise that at the time, when Ishmael and myself were diagnosed, the biggest autism group was in fact a hate group. And they did a video in the year I was diagnosed, talking about autism as a disease designed to rip families apart. So that in less than 14 years since video was made by the leading autism charity, we can come to such fantastic work as we've just seen in that video. It tells you how far we've come as people. Now, I imagine some of you would love to be able to help out a little bit and wonder what it is you could do. So I can give you one answer what we can do to help out. If you may have noticed, Sammy released a book this year. I have my own copy. I got to read it a few weeks ago, and honestly, I absolutely love it. I think you have some fantastic tips in there. And there's even, again, there's something to value even for myself as an autistic individual, not just from the perspective of an autistic parent. So if you have the chance today, I would suggest you get yourself a copy. You know, even if, okay, it could be for any of you, whether you just know someone, it could be a friend, neighbour, relative, it could be anyone you know who could be a parent, sibling of an autistic person. And these books, again, I was lucky enough to be able to go through them myself, and they really are valuable. And they'll give you some tips that you may not have considered before. And they are £10, and of course if you wish to donate any more to see the work at the centre, you're more than willing to contribute. That would be fantastic as well. And that's the best thing. Every single penny from these books will be directed to the centre that you've just seen. And you can see the heart that's been put into that building and see what can be put there for so many people moving forward. So, I hope we can all come together. If any of you can purchase the book today, please do, and make a little bit of difference to help improve this centre that you've seen today. But we can help the Daryeel family in this fantastic quest to empower parents, siblings, and even individuals with autism, and support people who need it the most. Thank you for taking the time to watch that, and for just being willing to be part of this amazing journey. Thank you all just for coming down today. Just to see the fact that you're all here just tells me that you're willing to take that most important step, that willingness to love and understand. And for some of you, you're probably thinking, but that just seems so simple. But for someone like me that grew up having to redo it, it really isn't. So just to see you making that first step says everything to me. So I'll give yourselves a round of applause for that. Now, I believe you're going to be introducing the keynote speaker. Are you going to be coming up next? Who's doing the introduction? You doing the introduction?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Well, as you now know, we've mentioned the book. I think I need to introduce the author. Oh, Samia. Oh, thank you. I know you're going to be doing this in Somali. So I'm going to pass the torch on to these two here. And again, thank you all for taking part for as long as you have. Let's go, you two.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam diran dhammaantiin habeen wanaagsan. Waa sanad kale iyo Somali Week Festival. Waa sanadkii 15aad. Intiina hore noola socotay inta nagu cusub ee sanadkan nagu soo biiday. Inta hawada nagala socotay online ka naga daawanaysa dhammaantiin waxaan idin soo dhaweynana waxaan idin leenahay aad baad u mahadsantihiin. Caawa barnaamijyadeennii barnaamijka yara duwan ayaanu caawa halkan u fadhinaa. Barnaamijkii buugagtan ugu nooga dambeeya isaguna barnaamij weyn ah oo sanad walba lagu tashado. Barnaamijkan wuxuu ku saabsan yahay arrin muhiim ah bulshadeena aad muhiim u ah. Waa cilada loo yaqaano autism. Magaca sidiisa ayaynu ku sheegaynaa sababtoo ah magac u gaar oo ilaa hadda la isku raacsan yahay haddaan u hayn. Waxaan go'aansaday gaar ahaan anigu inaan magaca sidiisa ku sheego autism. Ma ahana cilad nagu cusub hore way u jirtay laakiin aqoonteeda nagu yarayd. Barnaamijkan wuxuu ka mid yahay barnaamijyada wacyigelinta ee aadka muhiimka u ah. Intana caawa halkan fadhida iyo inta daawan doontay inta aad gaarsiin kartaan inaad gaarsiisaan waan idinka mahad celinaynaa. Waxaa garabkayga fadhida Saamiya Cali. So Saamiya, my name is Bodere Warsame. I'm your translator.
I know you are.
it's the first time to meeting you, but we have communicated before. During the process of translating this book, very important book. In English, the book is called Lifeline. A mother's story of hope. And this is my translation into Somali. And I think I did my best. I hope you like it. And I called it Tubta Nolosha Autism-ka. Waayo aragnimo iyo rajagelin hooyo. That's how I call it. And now I would like to welcome Samia Ali to give us more details about the process of writing this book and the information we are here tonight for. Thank you, Samia. Welcome.
جزاك الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. لمانتين English وكهذا. I'll speak in English. لكن وحنقصد ديال قلوبنا سومالي كهذا. مدام بوك سومالي لو ترجمي قيبتي هوري English كأن كهذا English. لكن definitely I'll speak English soon إن شاء الله. بوك عن قرتان كيسة. هرت مركز وحنا هذا أنا بحويها healing journey for me. هو يهان أما خوف أهان. sababtoo emotions fara badan oo maxaan ku raahdaa intuu Ismaaciil qorayay aan qalin jiray aan hoos gelin jiray ayaa dib u soo baxay markaan buuga qoray buuga qofkii akhrisana kale uu dareemi karaa emotionkaas waxaan rabaa inaan la hadlo dadka ku hadla Soomaaliga number 1 horta ko waa u soo noqon doona English sababtaan rabo inaan la hadlo dadka ku hadla Soomaaliga adduunyada meel kasta ay joogaan inta badan kelmadda autism horta meel dheer ayay gaartay oo maanta qof aanan maqlin kelmadda autism nuguma jiro ama familkiisa ilma autism ha lahaadaan ama deriskiisa ha lahaadaan ama film ha ka arko ama jidka ka arko kelmad ahaan meel dheer gaartay faham ahaan laakiin weli aad ayaan u dambeynaa sababta aan weli aad ayaan u dambeynaa waxay tahay haddii aan u raadinayno inaan daaweyno autism ama aan daawo u helno ama cure aan u helno weli maan fahmin sidaas darteed weli aad ayaan u dambeynaa inta badan waxaa arkaysaa dad badan oo ilmahooda markii lagu diagnose gareeyo autism haddayba ogolaadaan in lagu diagnose gareeyo autism ee u ogolaadaan dadka professionalka ah ee u ogolaadaan processka diagnoseka inay maraan isku daya weli inay helaan xal degdeg ah oo daawooyin aan ilaa hadda research back up gareynay uusan jirin ama procedure aan loogu talagelin ama waxyaaba aan wax ka qabanaynin oo aan wax caddeyn aan loo haynin oo quick fix ah in inta badan aan u raadino taasna waxay keenaysaa dhibaatooyin kale ilmahan inay u keento financial ahaan anaga naftirkeena problem fara badan inay noo keento waxyaabo fara badan carruurteena u qaban lahayn dib u dhac inay u keento marka dadka afkayga ku hadlo adduunka meel kastay joogaan ifahmayo waxaan sheegayo waxaan dhihi lahaa fadlan please ha laga daayo carruurta waxyaabaha qaarkood aan research back up garaynaynin oo lagu sameynayo mar dhow ayaan waxaan kasoo noqday Africa waxyaabo fara badan ayaan soo arkay iyo talooyin fara badan oo waalidiinta la siinayo si ay u helaan daawo degdeg ah ama si ay autism u fix gareeyaan wax u baahan ma fixin waxa ugu fiican ilmaha uu sameyn karto waxa weeyaan early intervention ilmuhu ka yar yahay early intervention markuu helo noloshiisa dambe way ka bedelan tahay sidoo diila noo sheegay qof autistiga marka aragto waxaad aragtay only qof autistiga Ismaaciil uu iga kacay hadeertaan waxaan rabaa inaan idin hadalsiiyo the difference Ismaaciil iyo diilan u dhaxeeyo waad aragtaan labadoodana waxay wadaagaan kelmadda autism haddana aad ay u kala duwan yihiin because waa spectrum كليبكي راه ماشان كاركتين هذا كوسو نخذو waxa weeyaan center aan ka furnay Hargeysa alxamdulillah ilaahi waa nagu asturay maanta waxa farxad weyn ah inaan inta fadhiyo oo ilma yar oo Soomaali ah oo Soomaali ku hadlo oo Hargeysa joogo ama ameerahada Somaliland inay maanta helaan meel at least ay ku helayaan in yar dhibic yar oo baahidooda buuxin karto dhibic yar centerkaas ma aha center ugu horeeyay Hargeysa center kale oo yaalaan Lifeline Center iyo centerada lamid ah ma buuxin karaan baahida ka jirto maxaan ku raahdaa dhulkeena hooyo ka badan ayaa loo baahan yahay hadda u soo noqdo buuga Lifeline hadda u soo noqdo buugan sidiisa waa buug aad u yar soo aragtaan aad ayuu u yar yahay maybe I'll switch off to English okay let me talk about the book I was just talking about in general about autism and the Lifeline Center. Now I'm going to talk about the book. I wasn't ready to speak in English, but I'll try my best. And my English is not my strongest. While I was going the process of writing this book, I had to visit all my emotions that I was hiding from everyone, including myself. It wasn't easy, but it was a healing journey for me. And I had to share my experience so another mother can have a hope, can have maybe the tips that work for us. It's not that much, it's only 7 chapters. And my favorite chapter is the one that says, don't forget yourself. Because as mothers, as a woman, we always forget about us. We put everything and everyone else before us. We'll say we come back to ourselves tomorrow, but tomorrow never happens. If we don't care ourselves, we cannot take care of our kids, we cannot take care of nobody else. So that is my favorite chapter of the book. And as a woman and as a mother, I will encourage everybody, don't forget yourself. Because when you don't forget yourself and do a little bit of self-care for yourself, you come back stronger. And then you can help your child, you can support the people who need support. And there's another chapter that I really love, which is get informed. That was exactly what I was talking about now. When you don't get informed for yourself and you don't get the right information from the right resources, people will misguide you. People will give you advice, and they advise you things they don't know nothing about. They don't even have a child with autism. They've never met a person with autism. Yet again, they will advise you what to do and what not to do. So please and please, if you ever have a child with autism, the first thing that you need to do is get informed and get information from the right resource. There are so many misguided information. There are people who are trying to make money out of our children's situation. Autism is not a disease. Don't worry about what causes autism. Nobody knows it. But what we need to worry about is how we can support our child. Autism is a spectrum. So wherever your child stands, that's where you need to start from. If your child has got language, it doesn't mean they don't have autism. I've seen so many parents saying, oh, my child speaks, my child can talk. They are not autistic. Well, Dylan can speak, can talk, he went to the university. Yet again, he's on the spectrum. Just because your child speaks, it doesn't mean they are not on the spectrum. So please, it's about time that we need to stop being in denial as a parent. We need to support our children. Even if they have the language and the communication skills that they communicate, they still need help and support.
Thank you, Samia. If you could say maybe a minute about the process of writing this book. You know, it's you can say a lot about it. You can take the whole night talking about it. But if you could summarize it maybe in 2 minutes, the process of writing this book, the emotions involved. How did you go about it?
I didn't want to go and visit that again, but okay. And I wanted to write and share. Okay, let me go back. Ismail has been diagnosed 2008 on autism, but as a parent, we knew there was something wrong, but we didn't know what was it. At the age of 1 year and 8 months, he stopped communicating. He stopped saying things that he used to say, like mom, dad, simple words. And long process, after 6 years, he's been diagnosed with severe autism. I remember the doctor telling me one day, like I thought I was going the normal appointment. Every 3 months we used to have appointment just to ask me a bunch of questions, and I never knew. So I thought I was going the normal procedure appointments, and the doctor said to me, okay, we come to conclusion to tell you, we find out what's your child's diagnoses are. And he told me it was autism. Never heard of it before in my life. Never seen on now the social media where it is now. It was in 2008, you can imagine. So the first question that came to my mind was like, okay, what can I do? What can you do as a doctor? Is there any medication, anything you can do? And he told me, and she told me literally, there's nothing you can do, and he will suffer the rest of his life. I couldn't accept the word suffer. That was very hard for me, because for me, as far as I understood, disability was somebody who might be using a wheelchair, somebody who cannot walk. That was my understanding of disability. Yet again, my child is in front of me playing and as cute as possible. And when she told me he will suffer the rest of his life and there's nothing I can do about it, I couldn't take that. Long story, we did whatever we could, and you can find all the information in the book. 2020, when COVID happened, Ismail had very high anxiety because everything that he knew, all his routine, everything has changed. His anxiety went through the sky. And everything that worked for him, everything that we could know, that we could calm down him, everything that we knew that will help him, it wasn't working anymore because of the situation of COVID. He couldn't understand all of a sudden why he cannot leave the house. Everybody's locked. And because of that, he stopped eating, he stopped sleeping, and it was very, very, very hard time for my family and for Ismail especially. Alhamdulillah, we knew, between me and my husband, I used to work as a care assistant and care health professional, so I knew what kind of support and help is out there for people like my son. My husband, he used to work with the NHS, so we knew where to ask help. And that helped Ismail and helped us. Around that time, I found other parents who were going through exactly what we're going through with Ismail, and yet again, they were scared to ask help because of the stigma, because what people might say. Because if the social worker find out, because their child has a challenging behavior, they might come and take all the children. Then we started Daryeel Autism. So I got off the book, but I'll come back to the book. We started Daryeel Autism at that time, 2020, when COVID happened, to raise awareness, to be the bridge between parents and professional people, so parent can find the information. We said, if you have got information, you are empowered. So you have a power to go and find what you need. After that, I always wanted, that wasn't enough. I needed something that people just can go and can read and can find tips and things that work for us, and resources maybe, or maybe even give a hope. Because 2008, the doctor told me, my son will suffer. My son doesn't suffer. Everybody's seen, Ismail is here. He goes everywhere with us. He travels. He's seen the world. He lives by himself. He's got his own house. Literally, he's the most happiest human being that I know. He's not suffering. So I decided to be brave and share my little bit of my story, but I didn't want to share just the story. I wanted something like guidebook, where parent or people or sibling, when they take the book and they read, they can find some sort of hope and at the same time guide. And because of this book, I think things within me are healed. Because when I was pregnant with Ismail, I had a dream. So I visioned how he's going to be. I already knew his name. So all that dream and vision I had for my firstborn, when she told me he will suffer, and it went out. So I don't want to say it's grieving, but when you don't know nothing about a situation that you have been presented and nobody talks about it, it's not grief, but it's almost close to it. And the only way that I come out from that was get the right information. So when I was writing this book, I allowed myself to visit all those emotions that I didn't have time for it to process.
Thank you very much, Samia Ali, for sharing your experience with us too. Let me assure you, when I was translating this book, I cried with you too. It's very emotional, but the most amazing thing I have observed about this book is a very small book, but it's the most informative book I ever read about autism. I learned a lot when I was translating, and I enjoyed it. So I thank you for writing this book for the community, and I hope many people like you come out and write books or talk to us in venues like this. So thank you very much.